Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Colleen at MikeColleen.com. And remember, shine bright like an awesome. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the light. Like, what does it mean when people say you are the light or the light's inside you? Now, literally, the light is inside you. Now, that's easy for someone to say, oh, that sounds nice, and it does sound nice, but there's actually an actual meaning to that. So Rihanna, when you say shine bright like a diamond, no, shine bright like an awesome. What do I mean by that? If you are a truly spiritual person, an empath, a light worker, any of those things, a healer, it's like you have a concentration of 1 billion or 1 trillion perfectly clear diamonds inside you. Your light is so bright that for some people they can't handle it. Now I'm going to give you some scientific physics stuff, okay, some basics. So one thing we learn is that atoms and molecules and electrons are literally 99.99% pure space. There's nothing but space. So what scientists couldn't figure out is if everything, the chair, the table, the microphone, the lights, water, everything is just 99.999% pure space, like the distance between the sun and the moon, or the moon and the earth, etc. How do walls stay up? How do tables stay up? How is it that we don't just fall right through the chair? How come we can't walk through walls? Well, there's something called string theory that they believe is literally holding together all these atoms and electrons that are spinning in circles and have nothing but pure space in between them. And I mean literally on an equivalent scale that between like the Earth and the Moon and the Earth and the next planet and so forth. There's just space. So they've had this theory for decades, but now they know what it is. They call it string theory, and they figured out what it is that's holding it together. And it turns out it's a computer code. It's the same computer code that we use online. If ye believe, you shall receive whatever you ask for in prayer. This is how I can do energy healing on people. You're just a bunch of computer codes. It's just a thought. Now here's how it works. Your thoughts create everything, anything. So when they say to have faith, to believe, it's like when you visualize something and you're like, oh, I don't believe that can happen. Well, you're gonna visualize it not happening, or the opposite of it happening, and thus you keep creating what you don't want. That's why it's really important to focus on what you want, because you get what you want. So don't focus on what you don't want. Focus on what you want. So one of the things it proves is that we are literally in a computer generated program. We are in the Matrix. Now this video really isn't about that. What this video is about is literally that you are a highly concentrated and or concentration of light. That's why you exist. So one night, I believe it was Christmas Eve or probably a couple days before Christmas, I went for my walk. It was dark. It was about, I'm going to guess 10:30 at night. It was a super clear night. I could see the stars, crystal, like literally like little diamonds shining, right? And I'm looking up in the sky and I'm just like kind of in awe, because it was one of those nights where it was so clear you could really see the stars. And this whole thing came to me about what I learned in physics about how everything is like pure, like 999% pure space. And when you look at the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun, that's the same thing as atoms and electrons and, oh, I forgot the other one, damn it, atoms, electrons, and something else. It's nothing but pure space. I mean, look at this. Okay, look at the Moon. The Moon is 289, here, actually, I think I have it right here. So it's 289 point, I think 900 million miles away. So it's almost 300 million miles away from the Earth. So there's nothing but space in between. And that's what's going on with the atoms and electrons. So what is the universe? What is space? It's the canvas that we paint on. It's the same thing as the canvas that a painter paints on. Your thoughts, your words, what you visualize an image, that is how you paint the picture. So as I was walking along, I looked down, and at the house I was at had these bushes out front, and right in front of me was this string of these tiny little, really crystal clear, bright, shiny white lights spread throughout this whole thing. And I looked at it, I go, that's what we are. We are a concentration of light. That's what we are. That's what all of us are. So in the moment, I was having like this revelationary understanding of what's going on and what we are. And you're like, wow. So now watch this. Now I'm going to flip this. All right. So I'm going to go back to Lauren Daigle's song. What is it called? It's You Say. Okay. I'm going to read some verses off, and then I'm going to come back to this light. And I'm trying to help you to understand what does it really mean when people say you are the light. And I'm going to give you some contrast. So let me explain this part first. Okay, so let me read some lyrics off again. I read it in the last video. So it says, she sings, I keep fighting voices in my head that say I am not enough. Every single lie that tells me I will never measure up. Remind me once again just who I am because I need to know. And then she goes on to say, you say I am loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I am strong when I think I am weak. And you say I am held when I'm falling short. Now here's the deal. I'm going to say something that might be a bit of a shock, but it's something that you need to hear because the narcissists of the world have been lying to you your whole life. It is not possible to fall short of the glory of God because you are the glory of God. You literally come from God. God is inside you. His energy, His light is inside you. You are a concentration of God. You're a concentration of light and love. You literally are the light. Now watch this. Now one of the things narcissists do is they're always trying to convince you that, oh, you can't do that, you can't do that, even when you do it. And they're like, damn, how did you do that? Shit. You know, and then they try to go into deflection or deny mode. Oh, that didn't really happen. Well, it was just luck. And they go into this whole thing. Here's the thing. A lot of times, I don't believe in God. Oh, the Bible isn't real. The Bible's fake. And I've heard over the years people will tell me like, well, so you believe like there's this white man with a big beard like Santa Claus up in heaven? And I finally said to someone, I go, wait, is that what you think? He goes, well, no. I don't think it's real, but you do. I'm like, I don't think that. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I go, where does it say that in the Bible? And this person goes, I don't know. I go, what do you mean you know? You speak with such authority like you're a biblical scholar. And they go, well, I've never actually read the Bible. I go, yeah, because you would know. It doesn't say that. It says God is like light. God is like energy. To where I think it was Moses or Noah. It was Moses, I believe, wanted to see God, the face of God. And God said, you can't because it'll kill you. And so he goes, face into this crevice in this mountain and kind of go into this little kind of crevice space area. And I'll pass behind you, far, far behind you. And basically, it was the energy was so powerful, so light that it went through, and it's like Moses could see it like in his eyes in a way, even though it was far behind him. It was like this flashing light that went by real quick. So here's the deal. Remember how I've told you how narcissists are stuck in their left logical brain? They have the door closed to the right brain. Well, you can't see God or experience God or hear God or anything from your logical left brain. So I totally understand that people who are not open to the right brain, they have no experience of God. So they look at you like, what are you talking about? Like, there's no God. That's not logical. You're right. It's not logical. It's spiritual. The right brain is the spiritual processor. The left brain is the logical processor. So you will never have an experience of God in any way, shape, or form until you open up to the right brain. So here's the deal. They don't experience God, and I'm okay with that. Because they hide from God. They hide behind what I call their logic, and that's what a lot of people do. Not a lot of people, but narcissists do. So those of us who have been on this journey realize God isn't something that just, you say, hey, God, knock on the door, God opens the door, oh, there you are, just like a human, I see you. It's like, no, it's a journey. You have to get better and better opening up to your right brain. It's a journey of meditation, prayer, and looking. You have to seek. You have to find. The thing is, God's right there. All you really have to do is open up. That's literally all you have to do. And boom, you have an experience of God. So you know where Jesus says you have eyes that you cannot see, you have ears that you cannot hear? The right brain is the five senses. See, hear, feel, smell, and taste. You're not going to feel God in the left brain. You're not going to hear God in the left brain. You're not going to see God in the left brain. You're not going to understand deeper wisdom unless you're in the right brain. So my questions to narcissists are, have you looked? No, you haven't even opened up to your right brain. You haven't even opened your eyes. You haven't opened your ears. You don't want to see it. You don't want to hear it. And that's fine, but stop going around trying to bullshit everyone else. Just because you can't see doesn't mean I can't. Just because you can't hear doesn't mean I can't. Just because you can't feel doesn't mean I can't. So here's the deal. You have so much light in you that you can't see it. And one thing I want to talk about is the word de in Spanish and or Latin. Okay? It means of or from. It means to be of or from God. Okay, before I get to the good part, all I'm saying right now is you literally are of God. You are from God, literally. So one thing you'll notice about narcissists is they'll sit there and say, well, you can't, or you don't, or you aren't, right? And that's because they can't. So because they can't do something or they don't experience something, thus they believe that it's not real and therefore you don't do it either. So I had a friend who, ended up being a narcissist. I figured it out later in years. And he goes, well, you can't do that. I'm like, why do you say? He goes, well, because I can't. He goes, I've never had that experience. I'm like, oh, so let me ask you a question. Can you throw a football 100 yards while you're under pressure from a professional defensive NFL line with 300-pound linemen? He goes, well, no, of course not. He goes, I can't even throw the ball that far, even if there's not a professional defensive line rushing me. I go, oh, okay, so let me get it. So because you can't throw the football 60 yards, that means Joe Montana, Tom Brady, and I started naming off all these professional quarterbacks. That means they've never been able to do it. So it must have been like an illusion on the television, right? So he's a huge Green Bay Packers fan. He lives about an hour and a half, 2-hour drive from Green Bay. So he goes to football games all the time. He loves football. And he just got really quiet. And I said, so basically what you're saying is if you can't do this, then no one else can. And therefore we're all full of shit. Believe it or not, but there's people that have practiced things and lifted weights and done things that you've never done in your life so they can throw the football a lot farther than you can. There are people that have studied martial arts for 10, 15, 20 years and they can do martial arts and kicks and punches and things that you can't because you've never studied martial arts. You've never studied boxing. You never competed in kickboxing. So because you can't win a match, that means that they can't? Bullshit. But that's a narcissist logic. It's completely illogical. Alright, so if you got this far, this is what this video is about. Watch this. Okay, so here's the deal. You are so full of God's light. You are so full of love. And remember, love is light, that you can't see it. Now here's why. So when you are literally the light, and you're like, and I know you've heard it, and you're like, oh, that's nice, thank you, I appreciate it, it's kind. No, we're not being kind. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying, oh, you're a nice person, you're light. No, that's not what I mean. Here's the deal. Because for years you're like, what are people talking about? Like, I don't see any fucking light. What do you mean? Here's the deal. The light is inside you, and with your eyes, you physically look outside your body. So here, what do you see? Because you're the light. When you look outwards, what do you see? You see the darkness. Just like that night when I was walking around And I looked up in the sky. It was dark. It was nighttime. Like 99% of everything was dark. There was like stars, but it was 99% of the space was pure dark. The streets were dark. There was like little lights here and there, but everything else was dark. And that's what happens to empaths, is you see darkness when you look out. So when a narcissist sees you, he sees the light. Well, why is that? Because a narcissist is the dark. Inside them is darkness. So everywhere they look, they see the light and they're fucking pissed. So here's the deal. They tell you that you can't, or that you're not the light, or whatever, or that you can't do spiritual stuff or have spiritual experiences. But they're lying, because they know that you can, because they can see it more than you can. Have you ever heard people talking about narcissist abuse, or tarot card readers or spiritual people say, look, they saw your gifts before you did. They know that you have this ability. They know that you have these gifts. And the problem is you're not really sure. You're like, well, I think I do. It's because you're inside the light and you're of the light. And therefore you're like, well, what do you mean? Like, well, how am I the light? Because you walk around like that all the time and you don't even know what darkness is until you experience the darkness. Now, one thing that happens is one of the reasons why you experience narcissist abuse, narcissist attack, is so you can experience the darkness. So you see and feel and you are in the dark. So now you're like, oh my God, this is horrible. This is awful. And everything seems dark. And then what happens is you look outside and you see people smiling and happy. And you're suddenly in this negative space. And you're like, wow, they don't understand how fucked up the world is, or they don't understand this. And that might be true, but the fact of the matter is you're seeing the light in other people, and it hurts because you used to be like that. So here's the deal. This is actually a gift. Now I know you heard, oh, what are you talking about? This sucks. It does suck, I get it. But here's the deal. You're going to come out of it. This isn't even a test from God. This is more like contrast, okay? If you don't have contrast, you could literally be in the light all day long and for decades and even 100, even lifetimes, and you're just like, well, I don't experience the light. What are you talking about? Yeah, everyone around you is like, what are you talking about? Like, you are the light. And you're like, what are you talking about? And that's kind of sad. Have you ever heard the scientific test when they put a frog in a pan or a pot, and they put water in it, and then they slowly turn up the heat, and the frog, it doesn't even notice it until it's already boiling and it's basically dead? Well, it's the same thing when you experience the light or when you experience love. It's like you have it so much that you get used to it. You're like, what are you talking about? All right, one thing I learned in communication between men and women is I teach men, I go, when you talk to women, you have to give them contrast. You can't just say it's beautiful or, oh, I had a great day. You have to describe, what did it feel like? And if you can add contrast to that, then they can have a better experience of what you're experiencing inside emotionally. So one of the things is that contrast helps you to see your own light. It helps you to see your own love, not only to see it, but to feel it, to hear it, to know it. The more you look within, the more you're going to see your light. And that's the thing. Stop looking outside of yourself. Start looking within your emotions, within your body. And you're going to start seeing how beautiful of a person you actually are. Now I'm going to say it again. God already sees your beauty. God already sees your light. God knows that you are beautiful. You are God's little angel. God absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt, adores you, hugs you, loves you, wants to protect you, and provide and be there for you. All you have to do is get out of God's way. Alright, so I'm going to bring this experience I just had 2 or 3 days ago. It's really what's inspired these last 2 videos. I came out of a store in a parking lot, walked to my car, and there was this girl sitting in the back seat of this car with the window rolled down, and she sat up in the window and she looked at me, and I'm just like, well, I didn't really know what to do, but she just was she was about 4 years old, just an adorable little girl. Her smile lit up the sky, or lit up the parking lot, and I was like, wow, that's incredible. And she goes, hi, hi. And I'm like, oh, hi. And I said, hi, cutie. And I told her, when I went to my car and put my stuff in the trunk, I looked at her. I go, you are an angel. Because she literally was an angel and is an angel. So because I went into the darkness, or was brought into the darkness, I can see the light around me a lot more than I ever could before. It's like that little girl. Like, okay, you know, when I was a younger, like a teenage guy or in my 20s, like, oh, that little girl that little baby has such a bright light around her. And you're like, oh, okay, whatever. You just think, oh, they're just being nice. They're just being kind. No, they're not just being nice. They're not being kind. They literally mean that that person, that child, that being has a light, and it is beautiful. Have you ever seen a father with his little baby girl or his little baby boy in his arms, and the dad is just so elated and just so happy? There's nothing that child could do that would make that father feel like this child has fell short of the glory of me. That's how God looks at you. There's nothing you could do. There's nothing you could do that would make God not like you, that would make God not love you and be there for you. God absolutely adores you and wants the best for you. Now here's the thing. You can't earn it. You can't pay for it. All you have to do is let go and surrender and receive it. So once you let go, the door opens up and you can receive your gift of love, of light, of God. Here's what most people do. I'll pick Christians, but it's even people that aren't Christians and they believe in God, they believe in, the light, whatever, is they think that somehow they're guilty and they're shameful and they have to earn it, or they have to pay off their debts and then they got to pay God. Look, that love that father has for his little girl or that little boy, that little child doesn't have to pay for it. He can't pay for it. Imagine a little boy walking up to his dad with $10,000 because, Dad, I want to pay you so you'll love me. And the dad's going to be like, what are you talking about? Pay me. I love you unconditionally. I love you freely. That father is not looking for payment. I'll say the same thing to you that I said to a church when I was an associate pastor. You cannot buy God off. You cannot pay for God's love. But you can receive it. It's free. It always has been. And there's no... Okay, here's the thing okay, because you hear it from Christians a lot. It's like there's a catch. There's no hook. There's no catch. There's... there's nothing like that at all. Maybe in the religion, in the church there is. Yeah, okay. I'll give you that. But when it comes to God, there's no catch. You can come and go as you please. God loves you freely. There's no contract, there's no, what's the word I'm looking for? There's no hook, there's no trick. God just wants to love you, support you, and be there for you, and help you. Period, end of sentence. That's it. Don't add anything to it. Don't take anything away from that. See, here's the deal. There's an emotional being inside you that is connected to God, or I actually call is God. You need to love that which is within you. This is what Jesus means when he says, look within. The more you just spend time alone, curled up, allowing your awareness to drop down inside you and just feel your emotions, it begins to heal you emotionally, allows you to connect stronger and stronger to God. Hey, God bless you guys. I hope this video helps you. Just remember, you are loved. You are the light. You are a beautiful being. God bless you.